Hi everyone, welcome back to a new post today, and let's continue with the with our topics for the TSPSC Group 1 Mains Examination Paper 3. So yesterday I covered poverty, and today let's cover unemployment and child labor, two most very important social issues, especially since the effect of the pandemic. So there is a dip in the employment proportion in the country, and this is the after effects of the pandemic also. Apart from that, there were many children who went into child labor. This is also one of the effects of the pandemic because of loss of income of the family, especially of the lower ranks of the society. There were many children who were who dropped out of school, and let's have a quick review about the recent data and what are the policies taken by the government and what actually made news with regard to your unemployment. So as I told you, we are in the Amritkal period, and government wants to ensure that every inclusive growth is the growth is reaching everybody. So Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas is the motto of the government, and providing right employment to the people of the country will not only spur the growth, but it will have a cyclic effect as well. This will lead to the growth in the GDP and also more revenue and further development of the country as well. This will also bring in more investments. So let's look at unemployment today quickly. So unemployment refers to the share of the labor force that is working, that is without work but available for and seeking employment. Now in India, the unemployment rate for 2022, very recently, that is 7.33%, a 0.38 decline from 2021, and in India, unemployment rate for 2021 was 7.171%, a 2.48% decline from 2020, that is the pandemic years. So this shows that the unemployment rate in India is slowly declining. So the Center for Monitoring, there are various organizations that give out the unemployment data. One is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, your Central Statistical Organization, Ministry of Labor, and in institutions, private organizations like your periodic labor force survey, one of the important data sets for your unemployment and employment also, statistics. Apart from that, the Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy, which is a private organization, also called as the CMIE, estimates the India's unemployment rate in India. It says that it is around 7.45% at present, and it is 7.93% in urban India, while it is 7.44% in the rural India. So yes, it was 7.44% in the rural India. Unemployment adversely affects the disposable income of the families. It erodes the purchasing power and also diminishes the employee morale and reduces the economy's output as well. Unemployment results in reduced demand consumption because there are less people to do the work, and buying power as well. So demand decreases, which in turn causes low profits for the business and leads also to budget cuts and workforce reduction. It creates a cyclic effect that goes on, and that is difficult to reverse without some type of interventions. If you look at the data, state-wise data as of last year, that is 2022, very recent data, it says unemployment stands at 7.8%, and this is given by the CMIE. Haryana is the state which has the largest unemployment rate with 30.6%, followed by Rajasthan 29.8%, Assam 17.2%, Jammu and Kashmir 17.2%, Bihar 14%, Sikkim 12.2%, Jharkhand 12.2%, Delhi 10.3%, Himachal Pradesh 10.3%, Telangana 10%. So these are the states and union territories that have an unemployment rate above 10%. While nationally it is about 7.8%. Least is below 1% and below 1%. You find Chhattisgarh at 1.2%, Odisha 1.2%, Puducherry 0.8%, and Madhya Pradesh 0.5%. So what are the reasons of unemployment in India? There are many reasons for sizable portion of the population being unemployed in India. The recent effect was the pandemic period, where everything was closed down, especially the service sector was affected a lot. Among other reasons like population growth, a large population growth, younger proportion of people who are also studying, then sluggish economic expansion, seasonal employment, sluggish economic growth, and decline in cottage industries. One very specific feature of unemployment in India is many people are going in for higher studies and also waiting to get the proper skill set employment which they have prepared themselves for. This is a very, very important finding that we have found out. Also, it is found that in urban areas, women who are educated usually do not seek employment once they are married. So this is a trend that is found in urban areas, though they are well educated as well. However, how is the unemployment then increasing in India? Many workers say that they prefer to wait for the skilled jobs until they are what they are being trained for, instead of accepting badly paid menial jobs to offer. And this is also one of the reasons why it has pushed the unemployment rate in some states like Haryana, Rajasthan, Bihar to record levels. India's economy has also suffered from the experts what they have called as jobless growth. So as the growing workforce struggles to secure employment, the GDP has been rising on the other side. The unemployment rate has consistently increased over the last 2 decades, from 2% in 2010 to 5% in 2015 and 6.1% in 2018. So there are a number of reasons for this unemployment. They include recession, depression, technological improvements where there is no proper workforce to deal with those technological work sets, or they are not properly skilled, for example AI, quantum computing, etc., and voluntarily leaving one job to find for another, and job outsourcing. The consequences of unemployment are multifaceted, as I told you. For individuals, it leads to a lot of financial stress, loss of self-esteem, and also mental health issues that have been rising as of recent. On the broader scale, it can result in decreased economic productivity, increased poverty rates, and social unrest. So there was certain information that was given by the Labour and Employment Minister Bhupender Yadav in the Lok Sabha. Let's look at some of the information that he's given. He said that the unemployment rate in India has inched down to 4.1% in 2021-22 from 4.8% in 2019 and 20, and this was said by the Union Minister for Labour and Employment Bhupender Yadav as an answer in the Lok Sabha. The declining trend is apparently across the rural and the urban areas of the economy. The data indicates the unemployment within age groups as well as across all the age groups has been increasing over the years. Employment generation coupled with improving employability is a priority of the government. This was what he said. The minister also shared the data on the worker participation ratio, which shows that the number of people employed has increased from 53.9% in 2019 and 20 to 56.3% in 2021 and 22. Overall, all the key indicators of the labour market have shown an improvement over the past couple of years. However, several states have high unemployment rate than the national average, such as Arunachal Pradesh 7.7, Goa 12%, Kerala 9.6, Uttarakhand 7.8%. The reasons for which have to be analysed, said the minister. Also, unemployment data needs to be seen in conjunction with the labour force participation rate, which is the percentage of the population in the labour force that is either employed or looking for work. The labour force participation rate in the country as of 2021 and 22 is 5.2%, marginally higher than 53.5% as of 2019 and 20, and this means a whopping to 44.8% of the working population didn't actually get gainfully employed or was unable to find the right job for themselves. The problem was significantly higher for women. This is what the minister said. Well, the labour force participation rate stood at a dismal 32.8%, very less from the national average also. So the unemployment rate in conjunction with the labour force participation rate is a matter of concern, because it shows a higher percentage of population are not even entering into the job market due to various socio-economic factors. And if India is to progress, policies have to be drafted to address the unemployment rate, but also increasing the labour force participation rate. So what are the types of unemployment? We're speaking about the data recently. You have cyclic unemployment, frictional unemployment, structured unemployment, natural unemployment, long-term unemployment, seasonal unemployment, classical unemployment, and underemployment. And in India, the most the most rampant form of unemployment is frictional unemployment. The reasons for this unemployment situation are high population, defective education system not catering to the industrial needs, excessive burden on the agriculture or dependency on agriculture, low productivity of the agriculture sector combined with lack of alternative opportunities for agriculture workers and unskilled workers, etc. Several plausible strategies can be employed to reduce the unemployment in India. Strengthening of the rural economy, like increasing the agriculture productivity and the allied activities along with the food processing sector as well. Enhancing access to credit for the small farmers can also mitigate unemployment in the rural areas. And recently, a number of steps have been taken by the government of India, especially with regard to deal with unemployment situation majorly post-pandemic period. And one such scheme is the Production Link Incentive Scheme, where the government has the goal of increasing the manufacturing output in the country, not only for home but also to be a part of the global supply chain. And this has a potential. This has been opened across sectors like your pharmaceuticals, aviation, electronics, etc. And it has a potential of creating 60 lakh new jobs for the period of 5 years starting from 2021 and 22. There is investments in infrastructure and productivity capacity also have a large multiplier impact on the growth and employment. The government has also announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat package to provide a stimulus to the business and to mitigate the adverse impacts of COVID-19. The Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana has been started from 2020 to incentivize the employers of organization for creating of new employment and restoration of the lost employment. The government is employing the Pradhan Mantri or the Prime Minister's Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi program or PM Savan Nidhi, which facilitates collateral-free capital loan to the street vendors to restart their business which was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And the Government of India is encouraging various projects involving substantial investment and public expenditure in schemes like the Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, M-Narega, Pradhan Mantri Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushalya Yojana, Pandit Deen Dayal Antodaya Yojana, National Urban Livelihoods Mission for employment generation. Further, the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship is implementing a number of programs like the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme and the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana to enhance the employability of the youth. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana is providing loans for self-employment. Under this, collateral-free loans up to 10 lakh are extended to micro, small and medium enterprises to enable them to expand their business opportunities. And as of 2023 February, almost 39.65 lakh crore loans have been sanctioned. The PLI scheme is being implemented. The PM Gati Shakti Yojana for transformative approach to economic growth and sustainable development by building roads, railways, airports, mass transport, waterways, logistic infrastructure. Apart from this, various flagship programs of the government to boost the manufacturing sector like Make in India, Stand Up India, Startup India, Digital India, Housing for All is also working towards generation of employment in the country. And let's next go to the child labor data, child labor issue. So there are various ways in which the child rights are violated, and child rights are an important part even of the Constitution of India, where you have dedicated articles to protect the children apart from your right to life, which is a universal article as well. So you have many ways of violating the child rights like child trafficking, child abuse, child labor, but child labor is considered as one of the gravest form of violation of child rights. According to the census data of 2021, the number of working children in India, that is from age 5 to 14, is about 10.1 million, which is 3.9% of the total child population in the country, of which 5.6 million is boys and 4.5 million is girls. The ILO gives the same data of 2011 census. It says 10.1 million working children in India between age of 5 to 14. And the UNICEF says that boys and girls, in between boys and girls, girls are 2 more times likely to be out of school and to take on more of domestic chores like cleaning, cooking, care of family members, including children within the household. Child labor is mostly prevalent in 5 regions. So Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra are the main states in India where child labor is rampant. rampant, and this is where over half of the countries of total India's child labor population works. The cause of rising child labor in India are many, like population, illiteracy, pandemic, COVID pandemic, death trap, and are some of the most common causes that are instrumental to give a boost to this issue of child labor. Below that, there are also poverty, lack of access to quality education, poor access to decent work, limited understanding of child labor, natural disasters and climate change, conflicts and mass migration, ethnic conflicts, communal conflicts, migration from that very place, fighting of, and also with regard to the family business. So many of the children are taken up in the family business. Now, child labor risk the risk of contracting various diseases because they are very young, they are vulnerable to exploitation by many. There is also no strict enforcement of laws in the country regarding child labor. So employers continue to circumvent the provisions of the law even if they have the full knowledge that they should not employ children in their organization. So if we look, how do we know that child labor are rampant in India? There are many sectors that employ children where they are most needed. Most of them are, and they are of very poor conditions also. The most famous ones are the brick kilns, carpet weaving, garment making, domestic service, unorganized sectors like food and refreshment services like tea stalls, dhabas, etc., agriculture, and the fisheries and the mining sector. So these are the few sectors, but the most dominant ones are the brick kilns, carpet weaving, garment making, domestic service, unorganized sectors, and the fisheries industries. So if you look, child labor was it's just not a modern phenomenon, but it was rampant even during since the ancient time. Kautilya's Arthashastra, which was written during the 3rd century BC in the medieval period, says that children in the child labor in the form of slavery was rampant during that time. Children were normally employed as trainees under the artisans and also craftsmen, and certain crafts depended on the employability of the children. Child labor is a crime in India. The Supreme Court Act in 1996 declared child labor illegal. Article 24 of the Constitution prohibits child labor, that is employment of children below the age of 14 years in any hazardous industry. And apart from that, in the statute book also we have the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act of 1986, which prohibits engagement of children in certain forms of employment and regulates the condition of work for children in organization. Then you have the ILO Convention 182, which deals with worst forms of child labor, Convention 138, which deals with minimum age of employment, thus binding with legal obligations to ensure effective abolition of child labor, and India has ratified these two conventions. The Ministry of Labour and Employment is operating a portal which allows the government officials, law enforcement agencies, and also NGOs to share information and coordinate on the child labor cases at the national, state, local levels such as the district levels as well, to improve the enforcement of child labor laws and also implement the child labor abolition scheme or the National Child Labor Project Scheme. 2021 is seen as been adopted as the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labor by the United Nations. And there are many problems with regard to child labor apart from the other vulnerabilities which I spoke of. So children come into drug addiction, they become drug dependents. Premature aging is found among the children. Malnutrition, physical and mental sleekness, depression. These make it more difficult for the developing countries who are dependent on these children for their future growth. And child labor is concentrated mostly in the poorest countries. It is most common in the most dangerous states where there is insecurity or armed conflict, especially in the sub-Saharan region, which has 86.6 million of child laborers, more than anywhere else in the world. And as I told you, child labor is concentrated in the world's poorest countries. So when you have a dominant population of children in labor or you have child labor, it is a feature that the country is poor or underdeveloped. And therefore, Government of India is working hard to do away with child labor, especially working to bringing the children into school. And if you look under Samagra Shiksha scheme, the Ministry of Education and is implementing this program in all the states and union territories, where they are required to conduct a household survey for identification of the children who are out of school dropouts. And the Department of Education and Literacy has developed an online module for compiling the out of school dropouts children identified by each state and union territory and mapping them with the special training centers on the Prabandh portal. The Ministry of Labour and Employment has constituted an inter-ministerial committee under the chairmanship of the Secretary Labour and Employment, which comprises all the secretaries of various ministries and departments where you have child labour in some form or the other, like the Agriculture Ministry, the Department of Commerce, Housing and Urban Affairs, in the construction sector, Home Affairs, and you have micro, small and medium enterprises, mines, Panchayati Raj, the Skill Development, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, etc., to work to deal with the menace of child labour in the country. And if you just look at some of the data, let's have a look at the data quickly. So the data set tells us that if you compare the 2001 and 2011, the incidence of child labour in India has decreased by 2.6 million. In 2001, in the rural areas, we had 11.3% of 11.3% of children who were in child labour, and in urban it was 1.3. In 2011, this has decreased from 11.3 to 8.1 in rural areas, and in urban areas it is declined. It is actually increased from 1.3 to 2%. If you look at the states where you have more number of child labour in millions, that is Uttar Pradesh has 2.1 million, Bihar 1 million, Rajasthan 0.84, Madhya Pradesh 0.74 and Maharashtra 0.74. And the type of industries where dominantly children are found are the brick kilns, carpet weaving, garment making, domestic service, tea stalls, agriculture, fisheries and mining. And if you look at the boys and girls who are working, out of the 10.1 million in the according to the 2011 census, you have boys 5.6 million, girls 4.5 million, and globally 152 million children are in child labour, 88 million boys and 64 million is girls. So I hope this information was really very helpful to you all, and if you did, please do like, share, subscribe and don't forget to comment, and I shall see you in my next post following with the other social issues, and until then, happy learning.